Good morning, boys and girls. So, as you guys remember, we're doing our case study on Harriet Tubman. Yesterday, we read a nonfiction book on her. So, I'm just going to go over that again. You should all have your Venn diagrams out, and they should have all this information. So, she was born a slave in 1820. She almost died as a young girl. Does anybody remember what happened? Very nice, yes. She was trying to escape or help somebody escape, and her owner threw a brick at her head. An abolitionist, we said it was people against slavery. We looked that up in the back of the book. She was mocked for planning her escape. The Underground Railroad is a secret network of safe homes. She made 19 different trips. She would dress up in different disguises. 1865, slavery became illegal. She led about 300 slaves to freedom, and she died March 10th, 1865. So today what we're going to do is we are going to finish up where you guys should have left off for homework in your book. So we're reading Ghost in the House. You guys should have read up until Shadows Beyond the Door. So if you guys will all get your books out and turn to page 14, we're going to get started on that. We all ready? Okay. And then we're going to fill out our other side of our Venn diagram, and then we're going to compare our fiction, which is the story, to our nonfiction, which we read yesterday. So the next morning, Virginia went into the pantry to get a jar of peaches for breakfast, but there were none. Virginia remembered that there had been 3 jars left the last time she looked. Who had eaten all the peaches? Do ghosts eat? Virginia asked her parents at breakfast. Virginia's father chuckled, but her mother was not amused. Virginia was not sure if she believed in ghosts or not, but she was tired of being treated like a kid, and so she decided she would sneak up and explore the attic on her own. That night, Virginia forced herself to stay awake after her parents were asleep. Then she got out of bed, lit a candle, and tiptoed to the steps that went up to the attic. Virginia heard soft thumps and bumps and scraping noises along the way. She paused several times, clutching her chest, but always kept going. Her heart was beating so hard she thought that she might faint. She pushed on the door to the attic, but it didn't move. It was locked. Virginia peeked through the keyhole and saw shadowy figures moving inside. Ghost! She was right. Her house was haunted. And there wasn't just one. Virginia counted 3 ghosts, 2 big ones, and one that was about her size. Suddenly, her candle blew out, and she was left in darkness. She wanted to scream. The only sound she could hear was the beating of her own heart. As Virginia stumbled her way back down the stairs in a hurry, her hands touched something soft. She nervously picked it up and scurried back to her bedroom. Standing next to the window, she let the moonlight show her what she held in her hand. It was a doll made of corn husk. Well, Virginia wasn't sure whether ghosts ate or not. She was quite sure they didn't play with dolls. She thought about the lullaby she had heard and the missing food, and suddenly realized no ghosts were in the attic. Real people were. But who? Virginia devised a plan to find out. The next morning, Virginia quietly put the doll back in the attic on the attic stairs. As she waited at the foot of the stairs, the attic door eased open. A little girl crept out and picked up the doll. Then she looked up and saw Virginia. The frightened little girl gasped and started to cry. Before Virginia could comfort the girl, a hand whisked her back in the attic and slammed the door. Now, Virginia knew the secret her parents had been keeping from her. The people in the attic were not ghosts. They were fugitives, slaves escaping to freedom in the North. Virginia once heard her parents whispering about the Underground Railroad, which was not a real railroad with trains and tracks, but a collection of routes and homes fugitives could escape to Canada. They could find freedom in Canada. Virginia's parents were station masters on the Underground Railroad, and now so was she. A few days later, Virginia realized the ghosts were gone. One of them had left a gift for her on the attic stairs. It was the small doll made from corn husk. She kept it, but not for herself. If ever another family should stop at their station, she would have something to offer them for them other than her own fear. Okay, so the epilogue should be on page 19. It says around the 1830s, The effort to help slaves escape from the southern United States was called the Underground Railroad. Although it was against the law, many individuals, both black and white, opened their homes to help these fugitives find freedom. Families like Virginia's often fed, clothed, and hid small groups of fugitives until it was safe for them to move farther north. It could take them several months to an entire year for fugitives to make it to Canada, one of the only places they could truly be free. So we need to fill out the other side of our Venn diagram. So when did this story take place? Okay, so it took place in the 1830s. So we're really close to Harriet Tubman. So she was about 10 years old when this story took place. Okay, what else? Okay, so Virginia heard some strange noises. And where did she hear those noises? In the attic. Okay. What did she think they were? She thought they were ghosts. I'm going to put ghosts with a question mark. Yeah, she thought they were ghosts. Now, what else happened that made her kind of think that they were ghosts? Okay. So food went missing. She found the doll. Anything else that happened? What about when you read for your homework? Page 10 talks about other food. What about page 9? Look at page 9. Okay, she couldn't go in the attic. Now let's talk about what we read today. What did she call her parents? If you look on this, it's going to be on page 18 and 19. Okay, so she called them station masters. And what were they station masters of? The Underground Railroad. So we're going to put that in the middle because that has to do with both of our stories. There's another thing that has to do with both of our stories. What were these people? What were they? Okay. They were slaves. Were they allowed to be doing this? Was this legal or illegal? It was. It was illegal for them to be doing this. They did it anyway, didn't they? They did. And where were they traveling to in this story? Okay, they were going to Canada. In our middle column, I want us to put north. They were traveling north. There were many people that made it to the northern states that weren't slave states that were finally able to be free. So make sure you get all this down. Now we're going to talk about the difference between the two texts. So yesterday our text was a nonfiction book and it gave us a lot of information about Harriet Tubman. Did our fiction book also give us information? Okay, so it took that information and it put it in more of a fictional story because we can't tell if this is true. I've never heard of a girl named Virginia working with the Underground Railroad, but we know that Harriet Tubman is. We have a lot of information. We have a lot of sources about her, so we know that she's real. So what's something different between a nonfiction and a fiction? Okay, it's giving us real information. It did. So this side is giving us some real information. This side's giving us good information that we can use and that you can definitely use in your fiction, nonfiction paper. But it's putting it in a different way. So if you were to sit down, what story would you like to read first? Would you like to read the Harriet Tubman nonfiction or the Ghost in the House? What do you think you'd enjoy more? Okay, so a lot of you are saying Ghost in the House. And I totally understand because it's taking factual information and it's taking an important time in history but it's giving it to you in a story you can relate because this is a kid, right? So, what are some similar things? Now, we said that in the story they talked about the Underground Railroad, slaves, it was illegal to do this, and people were heading north. But can't we do the same thing for a fiction and a nonfiction book? What's some similarities they have? Okay, they can give us information. They're important. Yes, you can use both types of books on your final paper. Yeah. So what I want you guys to realize is when you go to type your fiction, nonfiction paper, you can use both of these types of books. So you know how we're doing our Harriet Tubman case study? It's okay if you use a nonfiction and a fiction book. There are a ton of books. So when we get to our Martin Luther King Jr. Section, there's going to be a ton of nonfiction, but there's also a ton of fiction books about him that are going to put it kind of in terms that you can understand. And they're going to put it in a more of a relatable way for you guys. So I want you guys to always remember that fiction, yes, a lot of fiction books are not based off real events, but all of your I Survived books, I know you guys love those books, which is why I have tons of copies. All of your I Survived books, they're based off an actual event, but they put it in a way that's more explainable and more exciting for you guys to understand. So next time we're doing our nonfiction, fiction comparisons, I want you guys to really find two books that are going to show that one's a nonfiction and then it has a fiction book that's similar. So that's our goal next time you go to the library, is going to be finding those two books. So we are getting ready to take our post-test on Harriet Tubman. You guys can use your Venn diagram. It is just a quick exit ticket. So I just need you guys to get on Google Classroom and get started on that.